before the fame, before the millions of streams, before the tattoos, the headlines and the pain. There was just a kid in his bedroom. A kid who felt too much. A kid who wrote songs the way most people write diary entries. A kid who would go on to change hip hop forever, without ever realizing how powerful his voice truly was. This is the story of Juice WRLD. Not just how he became famous, but how he became heard. Jared Anthony Higgins was born on December 2nd, 1998 in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago isn't just a city, it's a pressure cooker. A place where pain, culture, music and survival all collide. A place that gave the world legends and also swallowed many before they could shine. Jared was raised mostly by his mother. She was strict, very strict. No explicit music, no rap, no distractions. But sometimes the tighter the rules, the stronger the rebellion. Instead of rap, Jared grew up listening to what his mum approved of, rock and pop. Bands like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, Black Sabbath and Billy Idol. At the time, it didn't feel important, but years later, that influence would separate Juice WRLD from everyone else. Jared wasn't the loudest kid, he wasn't the toughest, he wasn't the most confident, but he felt everything, deeply. At just 4 years old, he started learning piano, then guitar, then drums. Music wasn't a hobby, it was a safe place. When things felt overwhelming, when emotions hit too hard, music gave him control. By middle school, Jared was writing lyrics. Not flexes, not money talk, not fame fantasies. He wrote about how he felt. Heartbreak, loneliness, confusion, anxiety. Things most kids didn't know how to say out loud. Like many teenagers, Jared searched for an identity. He found inspiration in Tupac, especially the movie Juice. Tupac's character represents intensity, emotion, and raw honesty. Jared took the name Juice and added WRLD, symbolizing the idea of taking over the world with emotion and not violence. This wasn't about being the hardest rapper. This was about being the realist. By his late teens, Jared was recording music in his bedroom. No big studio, no label, no marketing team. Just a microphone, a laptop, and pain he needed to release. He uploaded his music to SoundCloud like thousands of other kids chasing a dream. At first, nobody noticed, but Juice WRLD had something most artists didn't. He could freestyle endlessly. Entire songs, no pen, no paper, just emotion spilling out in real time. That ability made his music feel alive, unfiltered, unpolished, honest, and honesty travels fast. In 2017, Juice WRLD uploaded a song called All Girls Are the Same. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. A song about heartbreak, trust issues, and emotional numbness. And something incredible happened. People started sharing it, then reposting it, then screaming the lyrics like they wrote it themselves. The song went viral on SoundCloud. Suddenly Juice WRLD wasn't just another username. He was becoming a voice. What made Juice WRLD different wasn't his sound, it was his vulnerability. At a time when hip hop was dominated by confidence, flexing, and bravado, Juice WRLD admitted, "I'm hurt, I'm addicted, I'm lost, and I'm scared." And millions of people felt seen. Teenagers, young adults, even people who never listened to rap before, because pain doesn't have a genre. All Girls Are the Same caught the attention of Cole Bennett, founder of Lyrical Lemonade. Cole believed in artists before the industry did. He shot a video for the song, and once the video dropped, everything changed. The views exploded. The label started calling. Executives saw numbers, but fans saw themselves. In 2018, Juice WRLD signed a deal with Interscope Records. In a matter of months, a kid recording in his bedroom was now standing at the gates of a mainstream music industry. Fame came fast, too fast. One day you're anonymous, the next day millions of people expect you to save them with your music. Juice WRLD was just a teenager, still learning who he was, still fighting inner demons, but now there were cameras, interviews, deadlines, and expectations. And then he released a song that would change everything. A song that turned pain into a global anthem. A song that would make Juice WRLD a superstar and quietly mark the beginning of a much heavier burden. In early 2018, Juice WRLD released a song that defined an era. A song born from heartbreak, from sleepless nights, from thoughts that wouldn't shut off. That song was Lucid Dreams. It wasn't meant to be a hit. It was personal, raw, almost uncomfortable in its honesty. I still see your shadows in my room. From the very first line, listeners were pulled into Juice WRLD's mind. A place where love lingered like a ghost and pain replayed itself over and over again. Lucid Dreams didn't climb the charts slowly. It exploded. Millions of streams turned into tens of millions turned into hundreds of millions. The song reached top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, eventually peaking at number 2. Radio stations played it non-stop. The video flooded YouTube. Lyrics filled comment sections with one repeated phrase: "This song saved me." Juice WRLD had become a superstar almost overnight. What made Lucid Dreams different wasn't just the melody, it was the emotion. Juice WRLD wasn't pretending to be heartbroken, he was heartbroken. He didn't hide behind metaphors or clever punchlines, he spoke directly from the wound. In a generation struggling with mental health, heartbreak and identity, Juice WRLD said the things people were afraid to admit, and the world listened. Soon after, Juice WRLD released his debut studio album, Goodbye and Good Riddance. The title alone told a story. This wasn't a victory lap. This wasn't a flex album. This was a breakup letter, a confession, a release. Songs like Lean With Me, Wasted, Black and White, and Used To, each track peeled back another layer of his mind. Addiction, heartbreak, self-destruction, and regret. And yet, fans didn't turn away. They leaned in. By mid-2018, Juice WRLD wasn't just popular, he was important. Teenagers felt like he understood them better than anyone else. His music played in bedrooms at 3 AM, in cars after breakups, in moments when people felt alone. Juice WRLD wasn't offering answers, he was offering understanding. And sometimes that's enough to save someone's night. But there was a cost. Juice WRLD didn't create a character, he was the music, which meant every time fans connected to his pain, he had to relive it. Every performance, every interview, every song. The same emotions that built his career were slowly consuming him. Juice WRLD was only 19 years old, still growing, still learning, still hurting. But now, there were sold out shows, constant travel, endless expectations. There wasn't time to heal, only time to perform. And when the pressure grew unbearable, he turned to substances to cope. Not as an image, not as a gimmick, but as an escape. Despite everything, Juice WRLD's talent continued to amaze. He could freestyle for hours without stopping, entire songs off the top of his head. Radio stations invited him not to just perform, but to prove it. And every time, he delivered. This wasn't luck, this was obsession, practice, and a mind that never slowed down. Soon Juice WRLD was collaborating with some of the biggest names in music: Future, Lil Uzi Vert, and Trippie Redd. He wasn't chasing clout, artists respected him. They knew his ability wasn't manufactured, it was rare. In 2019, Juice WRLD released his second album, Death Race for Love. This album showed growth, more confidence, more variety, more experimentation. But the themes remained familiar: love, loss, addiction, and inner war. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Juice WRLD was now officially one of the biggest artists in the world, and yet the pain never left. Fans began to notice something unsettling. Juice WRLD talked openly about death, about overdosing, about not making it to an old age. Some brushed it off as an artistic expression. Others worried, but Juice WRLD himself once said, "I pour my heart out on these songs." He wasn't predicting the future, he was documenting the present. By late 2019, Juice WRLD was living fast, touring consistently, creating endlessly, fighting demons quietly. And on December 8th, 2019, everything stopped. By the end of 2019, Juice WRLD was everywhere. New music constantly leaked, features stacked up, fans begged for more, and he gave it to them, relentlessly. Juice WRLD recorded thousands of unreleased songs in just a few years, often freestyling entire tracks in one take. Music wasn't just a job. It was his outlet, his therapy, his lifeline. But even lifelines can fray when stretched too far. Behind the scenes, the pressure never stopped. Tour buses, late nights, studio sessions that lasted until morning. Juice WRLD barely rested. And while millions saw success, he felt trapped inside his own expectations. Fans depended on his music to survive their pain. But who was helping him survive his? He spoke openly about addiction, about anxiety, about feeling overwhelmed in his interviews. He admitted he was struggling, but honesty doesn't always come with solutions. Sometimes it just means you're suffering out loud. And the world kept listening without knowing how close it was to the edge. On the morning of December 8th, 2019, Juice WRLD landed at Chicago's Midway Airport. He was just 21 years old. Within hours, news spread across the internet. The unthinkable had happened. Juice WRLD was gone. Social media froze. Fans refused to believe it. Refresh after refresh, post after post. But the truth settled in slowly and painfully. The voice that had comforted millions was suddenly silent. Tributes flooded the internet. Artists, fans, people who had never met him but felt like they knew him. Lyrics were reposted like last messages. "I'm not gonna make it past 21." Lines once dismissed as artistic expressions now felt haunting. But Juice WRLD wasn't glorifying death, he was afraid of it. And that fear lived in his music. For many fans, Juice WRLD's death felt personal, because his music had been personal. He helped people through breakups, through depression, through nights they didn't think they'd survive. And now the person who helped them cope was the one they were mourning. Grief became global. In 2020, Juice WRLD's first album after his death was released. Legends Never Die. The title said everything. The album debuted at number 1, breaking streaming records, but it wasn't about numbers, it was about hearing his voice again, about realising how much he had left behind, about understanding the depth of his artistry. Juice WRLD wasn't just a SoundCloud artist, he wasn't just an emo rapper, he was a bridge between hip hop and rock, between vulnerability and masculinity, between pain and expression. He made it okay for men to cry, to admit fear, to talk about mental health, and the impact can't be measured in the charts. Even after his passing, fans continued to share his stories of how Juice WRLD's music helped them choose life. How a song played at the right moment stopped them from giving up. How his honesty made them feel less alone. That is legacy. Juice WRLD had plans, new sounds, new ideas, new versions of himself he never got to become. But maybe his purpose was never about longevity. Maybe it was about impact. And in just a few years, he changed everything. In a world that often tells people to hide their pain, Juice WRLD did the opposite. He showed us what happens when you speak it, when you turn suffering into art, when you let the world hear your truth, even if it hurts. Juice WRLD once said, "If I die, tell my story." And this is his story. Not just of fame and success, but of honesty, of vulnerability of a kid who felt too much in the world that didn't slow down. Juice WRLD didn't just make music, he made people feel understood. And as long as his songs are played late at night, as long as someone finds comfort in his words, he'll never really be gone. If you guys did enjoy this video, please hit the like and subscribe for more videos like this. Rest in peace, Juice. Long live Juice.